War is partnering up with Goonhammer and Joe from War Games Live to bring to you the greatest Streamhouse RTT ever. We've gathered the strongest competitors out there. Quentin Johnson, Kazra Hushidar, Adam Camilleri, Mark Perry, Nick Nadavati, Richard Siegler, John Lennon, and current ITC champion Jack Harpster. These brave warriors are going to duke it out for you over a double elimination format Thursday, March 30th through Sunday, April 2nd. 15 games, 11 rounds, all streamed to you on the Art of War YouTube channel. We asked our friends over at Goodhammer to seed us and put us into a bracket, and then in reverse order of seed, we drafted factions. 8 top players, 8 different factions. We've even partnered with Away Games, who's professionally painted 2 beautiful sets of Art of War specific terrain. That's right, we're creating our own Art of War tournament terrain set. Watch live, and not only can you catch the action in real time, but you'll be entered into a raffle to win prize support from our wonderful sponsors, objective markers from 3D6 Wargaming, Army Painter Mega Sets from the Army Painter, Warp Fire Minis, Big Bear 3D, Table War, and so many more. Keep an eye on the Art of War YouTube channel for daily list reveals starting Wednesday, March 15th. All games will be available for rewatch for our lore members at any time.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adam Camilleri, and I am here to tell you about my bestest of boys Grey Knight list for the Streamhouse RTT. How you doing? Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you're enjoying this video and all the other RTT lists that are coming up. Hopefully you guys are feeling the hype, getting excited. This is going to be one of the sharkiest of Shark Tanks, and boy, oh boy, do I feel like a little minnow in this environment. Getting into the trap house, you know, coming from Australia, just being surrounded by 40k in and out, and the way these guys play at such a high level all the time. Ooh, it's intimidating. But man, I'm going to take some names. I'm going to kick some ass. We're going to talk about that afterwards. First, I'm going to break down my list. And hopefully you guys will enjoy this little journey, this little preview about what I'm taking. So I didn't get to take the Archangels as the first thing. So the way this was done is that Goonhammer, of course, seeded us, and then starting at the bottom seed, they got to give their first preference for lists. And usually you had to give 3 preferences for which lists you want to play. And then if you couldn't get the first one because you were further up the list, you would go for the second preference, and if not that, then the third preference. So I think I was the 3rd or 4th seed, so it was likely I was going to get one of my first 2 picks, but it was with what I knew about the guy who was first, it was very unlikely I get my first pick, because if you don't know, there's only going to ever be allowed to be 1 Space Marine player here. And if you know me, you know my first preference, if I was going to play against some of the best players in the world, was probably going to be playing my best army, which would have been Dark Angels at the time. So, but Kaz is here, and Kaz chose Ultramarines, and he was the first seed. So my second pick is what I got, and I got the GKs. So I'm pretty proficient with the GKs. I played them to WTC, and I really like them in a singles environment and a teams environment, if you build for it specifically, because they're a really good grindy list. They've got phenomenal secondaries, and they're just kind of they're active in every phase of the game. So you never kind of feel like you're out of it, but at times they can feel very stifling, because at times you can just have a bad turn and nothing works, and that has happened to me quite often. If you watch some of my previous games, me and Caldor Drago, who is in this list, have a very love-hate relationship. He thinks he knows best, but I need to just assert and just be like, no, you cast the gate, Drago. Cast the gate, Drago. Please, Drago. Cast the gate. Anyway, running through my list, of course, I've got Arcs of Open Detachment. It doesn't really matter what I picked for mine, but I think I did pick Fast Attack as the mandatory slots here. And Rapiers is my house, is my brotherhood. It was really only a toss-up between Rapiers or Prescient Brethren, I believe. I wasn't taking enough to make any of the other obscure choices like Sword Bearers or Ward Makers. Had I gone with the 3rd Dread Knight, then I think maybe it would be Prescient Brethren or Sword Bearers to be the preference, but I like Rapiers. I like the ability Rapiers have to just make everything a little bit more punchy and to really round out the list. So starting at the top, my HQ choices, Brotherhood Librarian, he has a Warding Stave and Combi Melter. The Warding Stave is pretty much there because on the turns that I bomb him over, and this is usually what he does, he's a super mortal wound Libby. He usually gets Gate of Infinity or Arrive from Deep Strike, turn on 3d6 casting, and then try and lay down a phenomenal amount of mortal wounds, because he's got Psychic Epitome as his Warlord trait, which allows him to get 1 additional mortal wound on all of his mortal wound dealing powers. And then for his Psychic powers, he has Purifying Flame and Vortex of Doom. Purifying Flame would be min 4 mortal wounds, and then Vortex of Doom would be 2d3 plus 1. Then he has Gem of Inoctu is something he's bought. So this is a once per game plus 2 to cast, which I actually have fallen out of love with, but I submitted this list 2 weeks ago. In the 2 weeks since then, I realized I would much rather have a Noble Death on this guy than that. Noble Death pretty much giving him a once per game OBSEC aura to turn on at his leisure, whereas the Gem of Noctu gives him plus 2 to cast, and in this configuration will only get that plus 2 to cast on Vortex of Doom. So it is only for that side of the tree. Because of that, this guy comes down, though, and it can do, at times with casting on 3d6 with plus 2 to some of them, I've had him do like 16 mortal wounds, 17 mortal wounds to people with a big Vortex of Doom that hits a lot of other squads, because, of course, it hits the closest target and then every squad within a couple of inches. And I've just seen this guy's just popped off for me. So he's a very good opportunity to get a bunch of mortal wounds done, to get teleport assault, etc., etc. He's got a combi melter because it is free. He's got a warding stave because at times I have had people try and kill him with the minimum stuff possible, like, you know, things like 5 Howling Banshees, a couple of Striking Scorpions, which could happen, or, you know, maybe just 1 or 2 Tau assets, because these are all things that I could be playing into. And then I can spend 1 CP for him to have a 4-up invulnerable save. I can with the warding stave, because he's obviously he's a library, he already has a 5-up, and then with the 1 CP double warding stave you go to a 4-up, and then I could transhuman him as well to make him a little bit more durable. And honestly, I don't need this guy to be good in combat. I have enough combat elsewhere, so it's okay that he's a little bit worse there. Next up, we have the Grandmaster in Dread Knight. This guy is kind of ubiquitous with the army. He is one of the best characters in the game for the amount of shenanigans he can pull and the mental load forces on your opponent. So this guy was ubiquitous here, because anytime I can get in the head of one of these top players and kind of shake and rattle them up a little bit, I want to be able to. So I really wanted to take this guy. He has a Gatling Silencer, Heavy Psy Cannon, Great Sword, and a Teleporter. These are all just the things that you just take on this guy, the best stuff. So he's a very good shooting platform, very good melee platform, very good buffing platform as well. For his Psychic powers, he's taken Amplification, which is the +1 damage on pretty much all his weapons. So he comes down, can go +1 damage if I was to gate or shunt him, or for him to just walk up and puts +1 damage on something. And then he would have damage 3 or damage 2 on his guns, and +1 damage in combat as well. So very, very, very strong there. And then he has Vortex of Doom is his other power, because I also want to be able to do the mortal wounds should I want to, and I really want to push that mortal wound skew just a little bit as like the undercurrent through this mostly melee list. He's also got the Sigil of Exigence, which means that if someone tries to shoot him, I can really just pick him up and redeploy him immediately. And so that is the headache. That is the one that really makes people scratch their heads, and what can they do? And funnily enough, with the side of the bracket that I'm on, which I'll break down in a minute, I think I'm in a predominantly shooting side of the bracket. So, of course, I have an Asurani and a Tau player in my side of the bracket. So this guy, I'm hoping to really push and cause some headaches. Then he's got a Servant of the Throne, which is a once per game 3+ invulnerable save, which I can just turn on at will. So, you know, they're lining up a bunch of Crises to try and knock this guy down. I can't gate away or have any defensive bang. I'll slap that down 3+ invuln and just see if I get through it. But his real job is to be an absolute nuisance. Essentially be, he's as good as shooting as a Talon Master or a Crisis Commander, but he's also better in combat than a bunch of other things put together. He's 5 interceptors in combat, wearing a trench coat. So really big fan there. Of course, 225 points. You get what you pay for. Lastly, we have Kaldor Drago in the HQs, which I have had such a love-hate relationship with Drago. I played a similar list at the Cherokee Open recently, and every turn I asked Drago to cast Gate for me, and I would spend a CP, so we cast it on 3d6, except for like the one turn of a game where I used my Librarian. And it felt like every game, at least most psychic phases, every game, he would roll a 1-1-2, 1-2-3, 2-2-3. He would fail me miserably, but he's still too good to leave at home. He buffs too well. Full rerolls to hit is just too good. All the aura rerolls, and the fact that he knows 3 powers and casts 2. Now for his powers, I've taken Gate of Infinity, I've taken Sanctuary, and I've taken Empiric Amplification. So I have 2 sources of amp for that plus damage, because I think that is very much a key spell in the meta at the moment. It's definitely one of the big levers I can pull to force damage on my opponent. Gate of Infinity, because that is a ubiquitous, you must have Gate of Infinity. Why else are you playing Grey Knight if you do not have Gate of Infinity? And Sanctuary, the 4+ invuln being able to cast, mostly in this configuration will be cast on Interceptors, but the ability to have that in my list is, can't go without. You will notice though, I did not take Warp Shaping. So I cannot change my tides. So the tide that I pick at the start of the game, it'll be the one that I will stay in the entirety of the game. And so it's going to be a lot of onus on me to pick the right one and to stay in that one and just stay the course. In troops, we have 5 strikes, just with swords. They just bare bones. They are what they are. It says Armored Resilience there. That is a mistake. Unfortunately, they can't have anything but Hammerhand. So unfortunately, that is Hammerhand. My apologies. Then we have 4 Servitors, 25 Interceptors, with 15 of those 25 have halberds, 10 of them have swords, and 1 sergeant has a hammer. So I had 10 points left over and nothing to spend it on. So one of the mad lads got a hammer. Congratulations to him. Hope he does well for me. But the idea that I could get the damage 4 on the hammer because of amp is it excites me, guys. Excites me. If I get into some crisis suits with that guy, I'd be very happy. But yeah, 25 of them. I would love to have gone to the 30. And in hindsight, after some more development that I've done with the list, I'd probably even drop the strikes and go to the 30. But that would be if I was able to take Noble Death on the Libby instead of the gem. So they're the 2 sources of OBSEC. Of course, sorry, if I didn't mention Unyielding Anvil with the Waller trait on my Grandmaster is OBSEC. And double OBSEC if you already have it. So definitely can't leave home without that. Then the heavy support slots, we have 2 Nemesis Dreadknights. They are equipped essentially identically to the Grandmaster, Gatling Silencer, heavy side cannon, and a sword and a teleporter, and I've got 2 of those. And then I have a Rhino, which is my favorite model in the army. I need to tell you that my Rhino is my MVP just about all the time. I love how he keeps my usually interceptors safe, and I love how he lets me deploy them. Essentially gives them pseudo advance and charge. So if you think about it, the interceptors move 12, and then when they disembark and move, they're moving 15, and that's the pseudo advance. That's a pseudo advance and charge. And I do love clown carring, getting that Rhino into a good mid-board position, and then just shooting 10 guys out, putting 10 guys in, shooting 5 or 10 out, putting 5 more in, and just keep clown carring through that Rhino. It's a big fan. And then here's the spicy pick. And Richard Siegler sold me on this. So Richard, we're playing round 1, and if you sharked me and you absolutely annihilate me, it's because I listened to you and I trusted you. I believed in you, and you led me astray. Because I've taken 2 Hunters of Beasts Helverins in this list. They have heavy stubbers. They're Imperialis, Hunters of Beasts, so they're going to be +1 to against vehicles. They're going to really ice vehicles for me. And I'm playing against Tau, most likely going to have vehicles. I'm playing against Renegade Knights are in my side of the bracket, so they are just absolute money there. And then in addition, the Asurana could very well have, things like Vipers, things like Falcons, things like Wave Serpents, etc., etc. Hell, he might even have Wraith Lords. And they're just going to be good. And there's a lot of reasons. I think Wraith Lords are monsters, but there's going to be a lot of reason that these guys pay out and are very good. And the damage 3 shooting is another lever that I wanted to be able to pull here. Having only damage 2 at best with essentially 3 heavy side cannons wasn't enough DACA for me to feel comfortable in some of the bigger shooting matchups. And also, the reason I didn't bring the last Dreadknight, the reason this isn't 3 Dreadknights, the Grandmaster and 2 Helverins, is because it took me over a break point for Bring It Down that I didn't want to go to. So right now I give up 10 on Bring It Down. I believe it's two for each of these guys. If I went over that to 12, it's very attractive to my opponent to take that and then try and hunt them all down. When I'm sitting at about 10, I'm very happy with that. You'll see the same theme in the no prisoners. So I've got 1 for the strikes, essentially 3 if you get all the interceptors and the strikes, and then that's it. They're like no prisoners is not a good pick here. So I'm sorry, 2, 4, 6. Sorry, you get 6, which will go up to 7 for no prisoners. So I'm trying to ride that line of not having a good kill secondary against me. So then everyone's 3rd pick is awkward for picking secondaries. Of course, a Ball of the Witch is always going to be on the table. Unfortunately, I'm quite confident that that most of my opponents are going to be able to take it. Pretty sure Quinton isn't going to if I end up playing Quinton on my side of the bracket, or John will be able to pick it as well, playing Renegade Knights, and Siegler will be as well. So unless John bought an Abominant, which I know he didn't, he doesn't rate it, doesn't like it. So yeah, that's the list, guys. Running it back down again. Brotherhood, Super Psychic Libby, the absolute Jankmaster, Nemesis Dreadknight Grandmaster. I got Kaldor Drago, 5 strikes, 4 servitors, 25 interceptors in 10-10-5, 2 Nemesis Dreadknights, a Rhino, and 2 Armiger Helverins in a super heavy auxiliary. This is a pretty good list. I would not be surprised if a lot of my CP game by game is for shunts and then getting the most out of the armor because the 6s to hit auto wound, etc., etc. There's a lot of great stratagem support for Helverins. There's a lot of great stratagems, but there's not a huge amount of amazing stratagems for Grey Knights. The best ones that I have are probably the Rapier's one and the 2 CP teleport shunt. When I don't want to rely on Gate of Infinity, I don't want to trust on a 7 to have to get a power off in order to do things like teleport assault, which I can't tell you how much I'm planning to do teleport assault. I'm going to take against everybody. Maybe not against John if I play John, but just about everybody is going to get teleport assaulted, I believe. Just being out, it's seriously one of the best secondaries in the game. People try and stop me getting teleport assault against them, and I still get a 15. And it's them trying to stop me is the cherry on top of that secondary. So how that works, guys, is if I arrive from Deep Strike, a teleport shunt, which is a 2 CP stratagem that I can use on anything with a teleporter, which is all the interceptors and all the dread knights, and or I arrive from Gate of Infinity, like if I redeploy, and then I kill a unit, I get 5 points. Let me say that again, 5. Do you know how many that is? It's a lot. It's a lot is the answer. So I only have to do that. If I just do that twice, that secondary is worth taking above its contemporaries because it's competing with no prisoners. And in this house, in this environment, in this level of competition, in this Streamhouse RTT, nobody's building a list that's going to be giving up no prisoners like willy-nilly. Like nobody's going to be giving those easy outs just to go get, oh, cool, I just got 12 on no prisoners just to play in the game. That's not going to be a thing. So 100% I need to be able to play Teleport Assault. I'm also set up to play a bunch of different psychic secondaries. I'm very happy in some games to teleport my Librarian into the middle if there's a safe position and just go Warp Ritual and not use him for the mortal wounds. And just this is why I took the Warding Stave, in fact. I'm going to put in the Curus of Sacrifice on him as well, which gives him pretty much, take him to a 1-up save with a 5-up Feel No Pain. And then he's very good for that option as well if you don't want to use him for the psychic the mortal wound dump, or say you're playing a 2 kg game or his mortal wounds aren't really that effective on playing Chaos Knights or somebody's got a 5-up or something, or a bunch of denies. I'm also set up really well to play MSU on the board, split up all my interceptors, put 2 or 3 psychers on each objective and try and go for Purifying Ritual, which casting on a 6 I've found really quite unreliable to getting the auto 15s anymore, but it's still a very good 10-point performer. And then of course the other ones would be, behind enemy lines, R&D. A lot of the time I will be taking banners though. Banners is where I want to exist. I want... If you guys have watched Art of War content, you know these boys want to do the least amount for the most points. So playing banners means they have to try and play the game against me, because if I can just take Teleport Assault and go kill 2 of their screens and get 10 points, I can put up 2 banners and maintain 2 banners, 10 points. If I can take a Psychic Secondary on 2 objectives by the end of the game, that is 10 points. That is the 30 that I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for 30 points minimum on my secondaries every game, and that's the benchmark I want to reach. And then if I can do that with just going on 8s, like while I'm throwing out 5 interceptors every turn to try and disrupt an objective, doing some bits and pieces, jumping down, killing a screen, it's going to put a lot of pressure on my opponent for just having that much of just passive scoring. Just like that is my min level of scoring. That's what this list is built to do. You want to come pull down my screens? Pull down my banners. Here's just a bunch of vicious rapier interceptors and a bunch of really good shooting, really quality shooting into a bunch of different opponents. I did look at my side of the bracket and saw that there was no real, there wasn't any Custodes, there wasn't going to be Deathwing, there wasn't going to be anybody with really big armor saves. I mean, Tau, not awful armor saves across the board, but I mean, Crisis Suits and Riptides are the only ones that I'm really worried about having a bunch of 2-ups on me. Apart from that, 3-up saves is the best I'm going to be contending with Renegade Knights and Asturiani. So the shooting that Nemesis Dread Knights bring to bear on those opponents is actually kind of just perfect. And then the Armagate Helverins really round out that shooting game. So I've got just a stupid amount of Stormbolters, crazy amount of Strength 5 off all the 36 heavy silencer shots, and then essentially a bunch of battle cannon shots, and I've got a bunch of super auto cannon shots. So I'm happy with the amount of firepower I've got. I'm happy with the amount of mortal wounds I can put out, and this feels quite well rounded for the amount of synergy that I have sticking together all the melee assets with the Rapier's buffs. The only other thing I did toss and turn a little bit on whether to take any strikes, whether to take any strikes at all, or to take heaps of strikes. So I did have a list that had like 2 or 3 that had 2 rhinos in it, had 10 strikes to go in the rhino, get hammer-handed, and just be a world ender. Because I don't know if people know, strikes annihilate. As soon as you get 3 damage from amp, you put on hammerhand on them, you rapiers them so they 4 or 5 attacks on the Sarge, and give them exploding 6s. They kill just about everything. I had like at WTC, I had 5 strikes go into a full unit of 9 fully buffed Leviathan warriors, and I killed 7 of them with just the Strike Marines, guys. Ooh, I want some of that value, but that's why I've still got 5 in here, because they punch up like nothing else in the game does, and they're really good for defending my backfield from opponents. But yeah, that is my list. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I like Grey Knights, a lot of reasons why I struggle with Grey Knights, because you can just have like a turn or two of the game where no powers go off, or your opponent rolls really well and they're playing Sisters or something like that. They have 1 deny and it stops you from getting a 4 on Purifying Ritual. Instead, you get a 2 for a couple of turns, and it really puts a cap on it. Drago decides to not cast Gate at all in a game, even on 3d6, or you make mistakes. There's a lot of failure points for Grey Knights. The onus is really on me. The Grey Knights bring all the tools. They bring all the tools to the table, but I have to be good enough to use them. And I've actually been not actively getting coached by the guys, but I've been just super open to feedback, because I've played about 8 games in the house now. And yeah, it's very easy to see that I'm below these guys' skill level. So my goals for the event is to just not go out in straight sets. It's to get 1 win. Pretty confident. I'll be like, if I beat Richard, oh, we're golden. We're golden. I might even drop. No, I'm not drop. No, that'd be taking the piss. But if I just want to get 1 win. That's all I'm after in this configuration, in this tournament. I want to get 1 win. It's double in elimination, so I've got 2 chances to get that 1 win. And if I get 1, I'm a happy lad. And then anything on that is just bonus. I will be going as hard as I freaking can into these guys and trying to push the envelope. This list operates really well on the terrain, and a lot of the terrain, in a lot of the mission layouts, this center terrain piece. Sorry. The center objective in a 5 objective mission is actually no man's land. You can actually just see onto it. It's bracketed by like forest, by dense, so you can be -1 to hit on it. But I can just clear that so easy from safety. I can just gate over to a perfect angle, clear it, stay relatively safe. This has been designed for that terrain format quite a lot. I wanted a second Rhino to really double down on it, but I found it cost me too much in the squeeze wasn't worth it for what I was losing. I really wanted the other 5 interceptors as well, but then as soon as I put the Hellruns in, I was like, what am I going to drop, a HQ? But in hindsight, maybe I would have dropped the hammer and the strikes for it, but I don't know if that was worth it. So it's a bit of much and much. I've gone back and forth here. But yeah, the goals, just don't go out in straight sets. Do my country proud in this Shark Tank RTT, and yeah, make sure I put on a good spectacle for you guys at home. Hopefully some good games, some good interplay, some good cagey matchups, because I'm expecting to play this very cagey. The only thing I'm fearful of is that in the 8 games that I've played in this house, I've gone second once. I've gone first 7 times, and I do not like going first with Grey Knights. I don't know how. I like to get my buffs up. I like to deploy really passively, and I want to take it easy. And then I like to swamp. I like to do little angles, apply pressure on people by getting a lot of teleport assaults here and there. Just put a couple of banners up and just make them do a bunch of running around trying to stop me, and then just turn 4, push the whole lot in, and go there, go hard. And also, I really like to stop people getting a Ball the Witch. I want people to take a Ball the Witch, and then I want to do like not much at all, and just make them stress out, trying to scramble to get a Ball the Witch points, and then go and numb them. I'm going to be trying to wrap Richard. If he has things that I can wrap, I'm going to be trying to tri-point. Same as Quinton, if I have options for tri-pointing things like Rangers out front, I'll be trying to do that to apply pressure. I expect to, in a couple of matches, to be keeping 10 interceptors together, keeping them Sanctuary Door game, because 10 of them with Sanctuary, with the Rapiers, with 4 rolls to hit, exploding 6s, they can just, they don't even need the +1 damage. They'll just go and they'll kill just about anything in the game. So I need to apply the right pressures. I need to play stable, sensible 40k, prick the right secondaries, and not get blown out of the water. Don't go for the big plays. So that's what I hope to do, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you like my list. And yeah, can't wait to show you what I do with it. Hopefully it's an entertaining thing at the very least. And thank you all for your support. We'll see you later.